trials come, he has proved himself and will win the crown of life.
Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia.
The Lord be with you.
And with your
A
spirit.
reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd is one who lays down his life for his sheep. The hired man, since he is not the shepherd, and the sheep do not belong to him, abandons the sheep and runs away as soon as he sees a wolf coming. And then the wolf attacks and scatters the sheep. This is because he is only a hired man and has no concern for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for my sheep. And there are other sheep I have that are not of this fold, and these I have to lead as well. They too will listen to my voice, and there will be only one flock and one shepherd. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
There are some saints that one feels particularly linked with. It just happens that the man of this day seems to be following me around over the years. Near Kilnacrot, where I was formed to pay most attention, was the place of his birth. And every year we had in the grounds of that place of his birth, Lochrow, the annual Mass with our abbot and a bishop. It might be the cardinal himself. And it was huge. And then when they sent me to Rome, he was around. I remember after ordination regularly noticing two things. In the Angelicum, we had in the sacristy, where we would be vesting for Holy Mass, a portrait of him reminding us that he had done the same in that place. And on the way up to the Angelicum, to the Convito area, one had the old plaque on the wall in Old Italian, Via degli Ibernesi, Street of the Irish, because precisely the building had been in the hands of the Irish and was the place of their formation. The Irish College has since moved to the Lateran area. But that's where they were when he was there, and he lived, studied and prayed there. And so, after ordination, on a daily basis, I was reminded of that link with him, a home link. And one felt something of that while vesting. He would have had his Holy Mass there after ordination, and he would have been very much full of the Spirit and fervour. He could, of course, have gone back to Ireland at that point had things been calmer, but they weren't. In the wake of the Cromwellian persecution, it was too dangerous to go back. And so he was kept in Rome, and for about 15 years was lecturing in the place where missionaries were formed at the Propaganda Fide. And of course his talents came to the fore. It was not surprising that he was then eventually picked out to be a bishop, in the hope that when he would be able to settle back again in his own country, some kind of order would return to the church. They were quite discreet about it because it was still very dangerous, and he wasn't consecrated a bishop in Rome itself. It was done more quietly. On the way back in the lowlands, he was there in Ghent, consecrated and discreetly dispatched. And he just about got back, but it was very dangerous. There's a whole story about that. It's an episode in itself. And he worked like a Trojan. All these vacant dioceses around, he was visiting and confirming and ordaining and re-establishing order as best he could. And then, of course, this terrible Titus Oates episode took place, the famous so-called papish plot, which was all a contrivance linked with political turmoil, because they were afraid the Catholics might not be loyal and that they would end up fighting against the crown, trying to re-establish Catholicism. Be that as it may, and of course it's not true, the fact is that he was caught and they couldn't get the evidence they wanted at Dundalk. There was too much local support, and so he was dispatched to London, and for 9 months he was in solitary confinement at a very severe prison, Newgate, and the prison cell door is actually in Drogheda, in the church where his skull is, and it's reminding us that that too was in itself heroic. And then, of course, this mock trial, and they wouldn't let the witnesses get back in time, because he could have well have defended himself, and it was unfortunate the way that even men of the cloth were being used to give false evidence against him. They might want to get their own back because he was wanting to correct clerics who weren't behaving properly. So this trial took place, and he was sentenced to the punishment for high treason, and he was still given to the full, being hanged, drawn and quartered after being carted on the hurdle, which had no wheels, through the streets of London to Tyburn Hill. So there he was, and I was there some years ago with our Welsh Bishop Edwin Regan, and we were praying at the very spot. It's near Marble Arch, and it was very moving. All those martyrs, including of course our Welsh, John Roberts, he was our local martyr, all there, the huge army of the Tyburn martyrs, hanged, drawn and quartered. Starting of course with our own Carthusian brethren, and then John Fisher and Thomas More. Actually, the date of Thomas More, the 6th of July, is very close to this one, the 1st of July, but much earlier in time. He was one of the first, and this one was the last, 1681, date in time. And then it didn't finish there, because right next to me here is his head. And it is a head which is not just a skull, but has been miraculously preserved as almost a living face and head, containing all the pain of the last breath. Terrible, terrible, slow, long drawn out death. Nothing spared. And one sees the dignity of the head of the Irish Church in that look of dignified, patient, atrocious pain and suffering. He has a gift for curing headache, and he hears our prayer, and he is reminding us by the very look on his face that it is serious, and that if these martyrs didn't compromise, there's a reason for it. It would have been easy for them all to go with the king. But I remember actually when in Cartesian formation I came across this strange event where a wayward young monk was in his cell, always complaining, and he was tending to a dying brother, and he made him promise that he would come back to give him a word if he should then be on the other side in glory. He did, and he was in great glory, and he added words to the effect: the glory of the priors who had just been martyred, John Horton, Augustine Webster and Robert Lawrence, was huge. These were the first martyrs of the Protestant Reformation in England, along with John Reynolds, a Brigittine father. And this deceased monk warned him from the beyond that the way of the king was not the way of the Lord, and tried to present him with the alternative, because he foresaw from his place of glory that there was a danger that this person would not gain the crown which was waiting for him. Alas, he didn't listen. So, some can go into maximum glory and others who could miss it. It's too easy to go with the way of the world. What is a little more life, a little more luxury? Once gone, the pain is gone. But these martyrs went like rockets to the highest glory possible, forever, evermore. All the sins from the neighbor's rest, only by faith before the world confessed. Thy name, O Jesus, will be forever blessed. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, may thy soul use faithful, true, and good, righteousness sins who nobly fought our good, and win with the Lamb the victor's crown.